Hello, hello. Welcome to a new episode of Chill Pill Files, your new audio series, which is called Homestay. This is a story of a young guy called Arjun. Arjun was around 26, 27 years old. He was what he called an actual corporate Mazdoor. Why I stress on corporate Mazdoor is because he was a young coder who worked for around 12 hours every single day. He basically had no life. He was getting burned out. There was no peace. There was no social life. He was earning a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but no time to enjoy that money because all his time used to go in just working. He had a girlfriend who he could not give time. He had a beautiful family with a brother who he could not spend time. They were a close knit, but he was just too much into his work. He used to often get into fights with his family because he couldn't give that much time. So one day he decided that let me just take a break. Let me take a break and go on a drive in a faraway place. So he decided to do that. And he wanted to do that alone. He didn't want to do that with anybody. He didn't want to do that with his girlfriend. So one day he took a break and he decided to go on this faraway drive to this faraway place without planning, without any stocking. He just took few clothes, he took a phone, a charger, and left. While on his way, he passed a tea stall. He got down, he had a cup of tea, had a smoke. He had not done this for so long. It reminded him of his college days when he used to do this with his college friends. He got down, he had a cup of tea with alone. It was a nice, drizzly weather. He spoke to this young guy who was very happy to see him. He had a nice chat with him, and then he again went on his way. While driving, he stopped at a dhaba. He ate food, and while he was going endlessly, it was around 5:30. It was getting evening. It was getting dark. He needed a place to stay. While driving, he found a hilly region, and there was this beautiful cottage with a lot of greenery around it. He parked his car and he decided to check out. It seemed like a homestay. From outside, he couldn't see anybody inside, but he saw a light inside, so he felt somebody was there. If there would be a family, he would have requested them to, if he could share one of his rooms, of course, in exchange of money, and stay a night. He had never done this, so he thought it would be a good adventure. So he went out and he got down. It was a beautifully green hilly area, and this cottage was well maintained. He went there, he knocked on the door, but nobody opened. He waited outside for 5 minutes and he decided to enter. And he saw that the door was open. When he entered, he saw a very well maintained house. It was a little old fashioned, very vintage. There was a fireplace. It was a two-storied house. It was nice, wooden and rustic, yet very well maintained. He looked around the house. It was well stocked. It looked like someone was staying there. But he realized one thing, that inside the house there was no network and no Wi-Fi, and he felt this was the best place to be because he wanted a digital detox. He didn't want to go through his phone. He didn't want to go through anything. He also realized that there was no mirrors in the house. There was a painting of an old clock with no hands. There were nice portraits everywhere. It really felt that the house was looked after. But there was nobody. He called out for people, but nobody was there. So he decided to kind of stay in, and if somebody comes in, he will talk to that person. He went up to a room. He liked the room. He went inside. He saw the geyser was working. He undressed. He kept his bag. He settled in, and he had a warm bath. He waited. He listened to some music. He went to the kitchen. He saw there were eggs. He made some eggs for himself. It was around 8:30 to 9, and there was still nobody. There was no TV, so there was only music that he could play, that he had. He was listening to music. And he felt so calm, so good. He never expected that, the kind of freedom he wanted from his daily routine he would get in this house. After some time, when nobody came in, he locked the door from inside and he went to sleep. Next morning he got up, say around 8:39. It was raining outside. It was kind of drizzling, not really raining. When he looked outside the window, he saw the green grass had disappeared. There was nothing outside. There was a road outside, and he couldn't believe. He said, how come he never saw this side when he entered? When he entered, it was only greenery. Maybe it was the behind of the house which he had not seen. He went down. He got ready. He said that maybe he will not have a bath. He went down to see if anybody had come, but nobody had come. So he quickly packed his bags and he said he better leaves. Of course, his phone was not working, so he didn't. He packed his bags and everything and he decided to stay out. When he went out, he saw the outside had completely changed. There were a lot of new cars on the road. And he didn't know what to do. He quickly went out. He saw his phone was not working. There was a update issue. So he said he has to move out from here quickly. He went, he sat on his car and he drove out. As he was driving, he saw there was a lot of new cars on the road and new models which he had not seen ever in his life. His phone was as usual not working. So the only way to do was to go to that tea stall where he had drank tea to make his phone calls. Because I'm sure his phone had a lot of missed calls and messages from his family. So he quickly drove. And as he drove, he noticed that tea stall. It looked very different. It was upgraded. It had a AC. It had a place to dine. And he couldn't believe that how did this happen overnight. He went there. He met a man. A young man about 37, 38. And he looked very similar to that young boy. The boy looked at him and he got very shocked. He said, "Sir, you haven't changed. So good to see you after so many years." He said, "Why you say so many years? We just met yesterday." The boy smiled and laughed. "Sir, how is it possible, sir? You had come here 20 years ago." He said, 20 years? He quickly checked the newspaper and everything and he saw it was 2046. Then he realized that he was stuck, or he had stuck in a vacuum for 20 years while he was there in his cottage. To listen to the second episode, keep listening to Chill Pill Files.